Inside every person alive, a war is being fought right now. Not with weapons, not with armies, but with thoughts, choices, and the quiet decisions you make before anyone else wakes up. Marcus was 31 years old and losing that war. He had grown up sharp, curious, the kind of kid who read books no one assigned and asked questions teachers couldn't answer. His father, a quiet man named Raymond, had believed in him completely. Every Sunday evening, Raymond would sit with young Marcus on the porch steps and say, "Son, there are two wolves inside every man, and they are always fighting. One carries darkness, despair, resentment, fear. The other carries light, hope, courage, and love. They never stop, not once in your whole life." Marcus would always ask the same question. "Which one wins, Dad?" And Raymond would smile the same slow smile every time. "Whichever one you feed." Marcus grew up and forgot about the wolves. He moved to Chicago, chased a career in finance, and somewhere between the ambition and the exhaustion, he started feeding the wrong one. Not dramatically, not all at once, just small choices, compounding quietly like debt. He chose resentment over forgiveness when a colleague took credit for his work. He chose cynicism over curiosity when his ideas were dismissed. He chose bitterness over resilience when the promotion went to someone else. He stopped calling Raymond. He told himself he was too busy. By 31, Marcus had a decent salary, a quiet apartment, and a heaviness in his chest that never quite lifted. He sat with it every morning over coffee. He carried it into every meeting. It had no name, but it was familiar. The way darkness always becomes familiar when you stop fighting it. Then Raymond had a stroke. Marcus drove 12 hours through the night to get home. He sat by the hospital bed, holding his father's hand, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. And in that waiting room silence, something cracked open. He remembered the porch. He remembered the wolves. Raymond recovered slowly, and on the afternoon he was well enough to sit up and speak. The first thing Marcus said was, "Dad, you told me that story my whole life, about the wolves." Raymond's eyes softened. Marcus leaned forward. "There are two wolves. They're always fighting. One is darkness and despair. The other is light and hope." He paused. "Which wolf wins?" Raymond smiled, barely, weakly, but fully. And Marcus answered his own question for the very first time. "Whichever one you feed." They sat in silence for a long moment. Marcus drove back to Chicago a different man. Not because his circumstances had changed. His job was the same. His apartment was the same. The colleague who had taken credit was still there. But Marcus had looked clearly at what he had been feeding for years, and he chose, quietly and without ceremony, to stop. He started small. He woke 30 minutes earlier and read something that built him up instead of numbing him down. He wrote 3 things each morning that he was grateful for, not because it felt natural, but because he understood that gratitude, like a muscle, only grows when you use it. He forgave the colleague. Not for the colleague's sake, for his own wolves. Months passed, then a year. Marcus did not become a different person overnight, but he became a more deliberate one. He fed patience on the days when he wanted to react. He fed discipline on the mornings when comfort whispered to stay still. He fed hope on the nights when the old darkness came knocking. And it did come knocking, it always would. But he had learned that you do not have to answer every door. Here is what Raymond knew, and what Marcus finally learned, and what I want to leave with you today. You will never silence the dark wolf. It lives in you permanently, in every fear, every doubt, every cruel thought you've had at your lowest. That is not a flaw. That is being human. The question was never whether darkness exists inside you. The question is what you are choosing to nourish. Every morning you are handed a bowl. What you fill it with determines everything. Not just your mood, not just your day, but the entire shape of the person you are becoming. Feed the right wolf. Not loudly, not perfectly, just consistently. That is enough. If this story moved something in you today, give it a like and share it with someone who is in the middle of that fight right now. Subscribe to Aaron Motivational Tales, because every week we sit together on that porch and we remember what we are capable of becoming.